Hi everyone, it's Sean from STK Markets here this morning. We've got Mike Hudson here talking all things gold and antimony. There's a lot happening in the sector at the moment, and Southern Cross has just blown us away again. This project just keeps getting bigger and bigger. But what we've got this morning is we're going to hear it from the man himself, Mike Hudson. He found this project, brought it back to Australia. It's been going tremendously well in the ASX. It's been a beautiful share to watch. And Mike, you've just had some great results this morning. Can you just elaborate on how significant they are, please? And good to talk to you.
Again, well, good morning, Sean. Always happy to articulate the story and just what all this means. So we put out one hole, 130. It was a key hole. It was the first time we've drilled under and made a discovery under the Golden Dyke area, which is about 250 meters west of Rising Sun. And we hit over 130 meters true width. It was over 200 meters downhole of 7 high-grade vein structures, lots of very high grades. I'm sure the numbers are wishing through in front of us, so I won't repeat them. But some very high grades over good widths in a new area. So the third key area developing after Apollo, Rising Sun, and now underneath Golden Dyke, which was the most prolific mine in the day. It's just that we worked our way from the east and going west, and the system just keeps on expanding, getting bigger with some fantastic grades.
I'm really pleased. What it does show from our point of view, and I think you touched on it in the announcement, is that when you're developing a gold deposit, you've got to expand it. And I think the significance of this is your expansion of where the gold actually is. So, I mean, can you just talk to that? Before we had several areas, as you said, but could this actually increase the mineral resource estimate that you're targeting, which obviously then goes into a higher JORC?
Yeah, so you were asking about, will it increase the exploration target? Absolutely, without a doubt. It's a new discovery. We needed these areas to work to go to meet our aims of doubling that exploration target, which was between 1 and 1.6 million ounces at 7.2 to 9.7 grams per ton gold equivalent. We did that in January. We've been expanding it. We've expanded hundreds of meters in different directions. But this is a whole new different body. And it's really fast tracking our way there. And, we had high expectations out in these areas around finding those extensions, and we had little indications. And only a couple of weeks ago we drilled from the north to south across the rails of the ladder to see if the host existed, and we announced that, and that gave us the ability to drill at a high angle to the veins but parallel to the rails of the ladder to make this discovery. So it's understanding, systematic drilling, and a little bit of luck, because you never know how it's really going to look, that led to this discovery.
So you say there's different vein sets. So you just haven't hit one little area. That's where it is. You've gone bang, 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 bang. So it does look like there's a lot there, like the other areas that you've drilled out quite more thoroughly.
Yeah, so it's very high in the sequence. It was 150 to 100 to 150 meters below the workings, which went down to about 180 meters. So it's quite shallow in the sense of this system to the surface. When we get to these upper parts, there's open space filling. There's a lot more antimony. There was a hell of a lot more antimony in these results because it's higher up in the system. There's a lot of brittle veining. So that's what it looks like across in Rising Sun, across in Apollo. And as we get deeper, the system has always got better, and that's the thesis. That's what happens at the surrounding deposits like Fosterville, which is the second highest grade gold mine on Earth today. It got better at depth. Our system gets better at depth at Rising Sun and Apollo, and that's below this hole that we announced. So even though it's very good results here, when we get deeper, we go into a more ductile part of the system. So basically, rather than fracturing, the structures smear, if you like, and that focuses the gold amazingly well. And so we get thinner structures, but amazingly higher grades at depth. So that's the way it looks, at least at the top part of this new discovery. We're in that top part, and if it follows the rule from adjacent, it can get very much better at depth also.
A couple of things I want to note there. This is just Control C, Control V. where you're copying what's next to you, and you seem to be doing it again for the third time, I think, from memory. So you're finding at depth, as we initially said when we raised the money for the pre-IPO and the IPO, everything we've predicted or you've hoped for has been happening. And one of the key messages I want to put across today, and this is just from my mental notes, you've done 2 drill holes in this section. You've hit gold both times. In this new section where you're drilling and you've gone at depth, you haven't had to hit the drill bit in 10 times. And you've mentioned this in the past, that you've got the discovery very early on. And here we've expanded out the territory where you're drilling. And it's, as you said, a couple of weeks ago, we hit some good grade. The next hole that goes through it, again, you've hit good grade. I mean, is that correct? The 2 drill holes that you've expanded into, you've hit it both times?
Well, we always need to work out where the host is. So that's why we drilled from the south to the north and north to the south. So we knew where the rails of the ladder or the host that exclusively contains gold. Remembering the rungs are across that host the gold. So this hole, 130, is the first one drilled in this orientation, perpendicular to the veins. And it's the first big hit under Golden Dyke. So if we remember back, and for those who follow the Southern Cross story closely, for me, the discovery hole of this project was hole 50. I mean, we were hitting gold from day one. You know, we hit amazing amount of gold, but it really went to another level with hole 50 under Rising Sun when we went to hit one vein and the hole just continued, and we hit, 400 or 500 meters of mineralization that we'd never seen before. So in summary, Sean, hole 50 underneath Rising Sun, where we made that discovery and got the very wide zones for the first time, is the same as what hole 130 is under Golden Dyke. The first time we've seen multiple veins develop over very wide zones, great grades, and it's open up dip, of course, because we're about 100 to 150 meters from the workings. It's open down dip. We've got 3 holes that we've drilled around it already. 2 that are completed, 1 that's ongoing. So, we really like what we see there, and this is going to be a very key focus for us for the next 6 months to start to drill out this body down dip and along strike. And it's open, 500 meters to the west where we're drilling Christina, and there's 5 holes awaited there, and there's a rig drilling there. So this system and where we're focusing it, the drilling, the expansion drilling has the chance to really, really change. It changed today, but really more so when more of these holes come back if they work.
Mike, that's just brilliant. I just want to try and equate it to layman's terms so people like me who aren't a geologist can sort of start to understand the valuations here. I'm looking at some comparables, and you've got a company that's got 2 million ounces at 10 grams. It's got a market cap of $2 billion, which is a comparable Southern Cross. You're looking at an exploration target. You've currently got 1.5 million ounces exploration target, and you're looking at making that bigger. And the current market cap of Southern Cross Gold is substantially cheaper than that. You're looking at 500 odd million, depending on the share price of the day. So potentially, you've only done a very small part of the tenement. You keep hitting results as soon as the drill bit virtually hits into the ground. We've had not many near misses whatsoever. So the valuation, if you look at comparables, we could sort of get almost 4 times the value just on your peer comparison at getting a JORC of 2 million ounces at 10 grams. So I think we're still relatively cheap, even though the stock's had such a decent run, but there's still potentially a lot of upside left for investors to look at the stock at these levels, which is why I think I've noted you've got some massive institutional buying into the share. At the moment, I saw 1.1 million go through the other day. There was 1 million the week before that. You've got some substantial lines happy to pay $2.87, happy to pay $2.90, happy to pay the higher levels where the stocks rally. Because they're obviously, I'm not sure, I know they're institutional, but they would have done their homework, they would have done their research, and they can see that this discovery is only getting better and better and better. So, I mean, we're big supporters of Southern Cross. We've got big positions in it personally at STK Markets. We think it can go a lot higher, but I think you've also got in October the uncoupling of the holding of Mawson into Southern Cross, and that strategy of making it the one company. You've had a lot of North American investors say to you where they understand Fosterville, they understand Costerfield, because they're listed in the Canadian Stock Exchange. These guys have bought those stocks up significantly, and that they've made it clear to you they want to buy Southern Cross. They need to buy it because of such a good discovery, and they get the rocks. And in October, the end of October, when you uncouple that Mawson overhang as they perceive it, those funds can actually unlock and start buying Southern Cross gold. Is that correct?
There's a lot there, Sean. Our aim is to double our exploration target with 60 kilometres of drilling. There's 5 rigs there today, 6 coming at the end of October. Our aim is to get to 3 million ounces at 10 grams. It was between 7 and 10 grams, and naturally the grade tends to increase as you drill more and understand these systems. So 3 million ounces at 10 grams over the next year. Could get a lot bigger beyond that if we're successful in that aim, because it will continue at least from 1 kilometre probably to 2 kilometres, and we're only drilling 1/10 of the trend. If we get to that 3 million ounces. So at the moment, we've only drilled out 3%. So a lot of room to move into. In terms of peer valuation, you can do your own due diligence on that. But what I can say is that $300 to $400 Aussie an ounce is not unusual for these very rare assets that are, these very high grade deposits plus 5 grams. There's not many on Earth. You can almost count them on, significant deposits on your 2 hands. So they're very rare assets. They get premium valuations, and that's where we're heading. And we want to create a project of scale. 3 million ounces at 10 grams is certainly that. 1.5 is great, but you can see that this has got a lot more to go. So why would we stop expanding this to determine where the center of gravity is and design a project that's going to be of appropriate scale to the system and what it needs. So that's number one. Number two, we're going through a merge at the moment with Mawson. We got 50-50 ownership. Mawson owns 48.7% today. So it's a rather clunky ownership that was set up when we spun the assets out of Mawson. It was always going to be that the consolidation of the asset was going to be 100%, and that we wanted to be dual listed after time, because the North Americans, as you say, have made the $10 billion a market cap increase in Fosterville. Fosterville's always been owned by Canadians for the last 15 years. All that supersonic rise of Fosterville was made in the Canadian market. So number one, it'll bring a lot more eyes. Number two, will bring a lot more institutional buying that you indicated, because that 50-50 ownership is not ideal, but that will come together end of October to mid-November. We see that closing. And it will ideally lead to that re-rating that cleaning up that structure will bring.
I 100% agree. I think the timing at the moment, where sort of this beginning of September, early October, late October, when that merge happens, you've just had this big step out, another big territory when you've got drilling to come to confirm more gold there potentially. I think this is almost a screaming buy, because you've not only got the gold announcements in your favour, you've got corporate strategy of unlocking the buying support from North America and people who really get it compared to this. I mean, the Australians do get gold, but the North Americans have made a lot of money out of Fosterville and Costerfield, and they've got a very close affinity with it. So being there, I think, will unlock a lot of buying as well. So I think the next couple of months could bode extremely well for Southern Cross Gold, and it doesn't hurt that we're at all-time highs for the gold price, and that looks like breaking out even further. A lot of people are saying $3,000 an ounce, which is another 500 to go. So you've got all the tailwinds from the gold, all the tailwinds from antimony, and the tailwinds from you just expanding the system, and from the corporate side. There's so many ticks in the boxes to make an investment at Southern Cross now. It's just very, very compelling.
I'll leave that as a comment. I of course think that your analysis is spot on. Where my job is to create the asset and to bring the strategy of making the asset bigger, being very careful about our share capital. You only want to sell a share once, as you and I have spoken about. So we've got a very good shareholder base who are here to absolutely aligned to take that asset forward to that 3 million ounces over the next year and then beyond. And then we can start looking at building the project, and ultimately high grade deposits create amazingly high margin businesses The lowest ASIC, all-in sustaining cost mine in the world for 4 of the last 7 years was Fosterville. So they're amazing assets
Next
and
door.
very rare next door.
Yeah. And I think the last note, which we've both got to run in a minute, is the antimony story. The Chinese locking up antimony coming out of China, where they do the majority of it. It's similar to the tungsten story. That's only going to help you get permitted. The reality is that the antimony is needed in the Western world, and there aren't many antimony mines outside of China, realistically. So that would have to help Southern Cross moving forward, wouldn't it?
Oh, it's always helped Southern Cross behind the scenes. Now everyone gets the antimony story, right? We used to call antimony the most important metal you'd never heard of, but that doesn't hold anymore now that the Chinese have announced export restrictions coming in from September 15. So that follows germanium and gallium and graphite. So not only strategic, but very tight supply now. China and Russia control 82%. Main uses in industrial uses are flame retardants and in solar, and almost 20% goes into glass clarifying in the solar cells now, 20% of antimony supply, but it's critical around the ammunition. So antimony trisulfide is the main ingredient in a primer and anything that any munition, and you don't have a munitions industry without antimony, and now it's looking very interesting. There's no significant deposits. Australia's only producer, which produces about 1.5% of the world's antimony, is Costerfield down the road, owned by Mandalay. You mentioned it before. The Western world's lost its supply chain. No doubt this will bring more emphasis into the antimony space, and Sunday Creek will be one of the key assets in the Western world to plug that supply chain. There's no doubt about it. This is 20% of the value in Sunday Creek is antimony, 80% is gold. So it's a gold project, but it's got a significant antimony component because this is a very large deposit.
Mike, thank you so much. The business case gets better and better and better. Listen, I wish you the best of luck with these upcoming results. You've said holes at the assay lab, so they're imminent, hopefully. So, yeah, let's hope no one gets sick at the assay lab so we get those results out soon. But, Mike, congratulations again on finding this project. Thank you very much for bringing it back to Australia and obviously taking it back to Canada. I know you're always in a suitcase now, living out of it. You're off to PDAC tomorrow, or Beaver Creek, I think it is, to go and tell the story. So thank you for living your life out of a suitcase and making this stock go well. So congratulations. Look forward to speaking to you soon.
Thanks, Sean.